Hello, thanks for tuning in. It's Thursday, November 7th, Tuesday, 2 days after our now infamous or famous election. And some people are numb or in shock, and others are elated. It's kind of like after a Super Bowl, you have people that are celebrating in the streets and cheering, and they're in power now, right? And then the losers kind of go home. They become like every other team. Uh, they didn't win. So, I had some feelings about the election. I voted, and I voted for Harris. I was hopeful. Um, but being an ex-member of a cult, especially a right-wing conservative type of cult, I naturally had to learn a lot of lessons over the last 45 years. And in applying a lot of principles to groups and group formation and group leaders that I learned from studies in psychology, comparative religion, history, magic, humor, all those areas, you come up with a kind of a picture of what's going on. So what happened here? Even people that voted for him don't necessarily like the behavior of our new president. And yet, for the life of the party, for the principles of like anti-abortion or whatever, people will vote for that person because they need the power to enforce their will on the nation regarding these principles that they believe in. So enforcing their will, how do they do that? Of course, we do it through law, through Congress, but we can also do it by fiat, like executive privilege in some cases. But what I want to look at is that wielding of power once a person has it, and when it's in the hands of someone that seems unpredictable, what is that? So I'm going to look at Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland, and the Queen of Hearts. We've used Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland to look at QAnon, for instance. QAnon even embraced going down the rabbit hole. They had these memes and pictures and logos of the white rabbit and following the white rabbit in order to find the truth. But in the real story in Alice, the truth that she finds is that she's caught up in a very bizarre world where up and down is not the same, big and small is not the same, and the ruler of that world is this Queen of Hearts, which I will identify with the Q person that the Q people were trying to follow. So what happens when you give that kind of a person power? Well, let's see what C.S. Lewis says. He says that I picture to myself the Queen of Hearts as a sort of embodiment of ungovernable passion, a blind and aimless fury. So we're talking about a vulnerable narcissist. So the vulnerable narcissist is someone, like a lot of cult leaders I've run across, who cannot stand criticism, who wants to do away with their enemies in some way or another, and will say things like, "Let's blow them all up, let's lock them all up, let's keep them all out." These cliche power words that make wounded narcissists that love that kind of language, in other words, the devotees of that kind of a cult leader, feel good because they're going to have some power to take care of everything in the world, including everything that's wrong, maybe in themselves. Who knows? The one group I had participated in for some time was the I Am activity back in 1976. I began reading their books. And even though I couldn't join the group, and I won't go into that why, I joined a similar group called Church Universal and Triumphant that borrowed 80% of its teachings from the I Am. But the I Am movement was especially expressive of their vulnerable narcissism. And what I mean by that is that they were offering a kind of world view which is ridiculous from any sensible outside point of view. For instance, that these two people channeled the ascended masters, lady and male ascended masters like Jesus, Buddha, and gods like Apollo, um, for all of mankind. They claim to represent the flag of the United States. A Guy Ballard claimed to be George Washington born again, reincarnated, and his wife Edna Ballard claimed to be Ben Franklin reincarnated. So this group saw itself in a grandiose way as the core representative of American values, and they also aligned with a lot of what we call fascist ideas back in the 30s when they were quite popular, even in the United States. So it wasn't only in Germany that you had fascists, right? So something the I Amers did in order to um, wipe out their enemies or control their enemies is decree against their energy, their spirit, their soul. And they would do things that, like invoke Archangel Michael, or the Blue Ray, which is associated with Archangel Michael, and then chant rapidly, sometimes for hours, smash, blast, annihilate, and consume. And they would name these people. In fact, I know in the one group I was with, the Church Universal, they had named my name in these smash, blast, annihilation decrees. Well, I'm still here, so I'm not sure how well they work. And that was about 45 years ago. So there's this impulse to use thought terminating cliches and people terminating cliches in the language of people that need a Queen of Hearts to rule for them. So if you do something as bizarre as uh, making sure all the roses are red and some of them are growing white, you go out and paint them because you don't want to piss off the queen because she'll cut off your head. And of course, we see in the film and in the cartoon that this is what happens. The queen catches people cheating, and she doesn't like that. So her simplistic answer is off with their heads, lock them up, get rid of them, that kind of thing. So I think that's what a lot of people to the center, and not, people that aren't in the MAGA right, but, and this includes some Republicans, but especially people on the left at this point in the United States, fear this raging fury of the Queen of Hearts expressing itself in the national zeitgeist and harming people. It's not just going to be words. I mean, you can enact laws, you can physically pick people up and lock them up, and hopefully we don't get to the point of the guillotine like they did in France a couple hundred years ago. But I'm not expecting anything that radical. But I do want to speak to this idea of the numbness of the, in fact, in some cases, the fear of what's going to happen in the United States, and the expectation that our rights, especially freedom of the press and other things, are going to get taken away. And we're moving toward an oligarchy where there's going to be dictation or autocracy from the top, telling us who we are and how to behave and so forth. So, yeah, Viktor Orban is happy. There are a lot of people happy in the United States today, like Tucker Carlson, who thinks we should model our government like Hungary's today. I disagree. Nemjol in Hungary, that means not good. So in Hungarian, anyway, that's all I wanted to bring up, is this idea that we've unleashed the this energy. We've crowned the Queen of Hearts again, and this time she's really ready. So you all get ready. Hopefully, it's not that bad of a ride, and take care and get along with your neighbor, even if you don't agree with them. Thanks for listening. Take care.